Berlin, Germany, February 1920. A young woman was pulled out of a canal in the middle of the night. She had jumped in or fallen in, nobody was sure which. She was cold, soaking wet, and barely alive. She was taken to a hospital. She had no identification. She refused to give her name. She refused to speak at all for weeks. When she finally began talking, what she said stunned everyone around her. She claimed to be Grand Duchess Anastasia Romanov, the youngest daughter of Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, a girl who, according to the official story, had been shot and killed in a basement in Russia less than 2 years earlier along with her entire family. Was she telling the truth? Was she a desperate, mentally unstable woman inventing a story? Or had something truly miraculous happened in that basement in Russia? This question would divide families, fill courtrooms, inspire books and films, and grip the entire world for the next 74 years. This is the story of Anastasia Romanov, the real one, and the mystery that refused to die almost as stubbornly as the girl herself. Before we get to the mystery, you need to know who Anastasia really was. Because the real girl, not the cartoon princess, not the legend, was someone quite remarkable. Anastasia Nikolaevna Romanova was born on June 18, 1901. She was the fourth and youngest daughter of Tsar Nicholas II and Empress Alexandra. She had three older sisters, Olga, Tatiana, and Maria, and one younger brother, Alexei, who was heir to the throne and suffered from the blood disease hemophilia. From a very young age, Anastasia stood out in the family. She was the troublemaker, the funny one, the one who climbed trees, played pranks on gods and servants, and refused to sit still during formal portrait sessions. Her tutor described her as a girl with a sharp, quick mind and an absolute ability to be bored quietly. She was also kind. Letters and diaries from people who knew the family describe Anastasia as the one who could make anyone laugh, even the gods who were assigned to watch them during their captivity. Even in the worst moments of their house arrest, she drew funny pictures, wrote cheeky letters, and performed little comedy skits for her family to keep their spirits up. She was, by all accounts, genuinely lovable. Anastasia was 17 years old in the summer of 1918. She was not a small child. She was nearly a young woman, old enough to understand exactly what was happening to her family and old enough to be terrified. And then came the night of July 16th. You already know the broad story of what happened that night if you watched our Day 4 video on the Romanov family, but today we focus on Anastasia specifically. The family walked down into the basement of the Ipativ house just after midnight. Anastasia stood with her sisters behind her parents. She had sewn diamonds, real diamonds, into the lining of her clothing, just as her sisters had done. This was their attempt to hide the family's remaining jewels from the gods. When the shooting started, something happened that no one had planned for. The diamonds in the girls' clothing were thick enough and layered enough that the first bullets did not kill them immediately. The executioners panicked. The chaos in that small room was extreme. Smoke from the gunfire filled the air. The noise was deafening, and their original plan was failing badly. The killings took far longer than intended. Some historical accounts suggest the process lasted over 20 minutes, not the quick, controlled event the executioners had planned. In that chaos, the smoke, the panic, the screaming, could someone have escaped? Officially, the Soviet answer for decades was no. Everyone died, the bodies were disposed of, but the bodies were not all found for 89 years, and the question started almost immediately. Because within 2 years of that night, a woman appeared in Berlin, silent, traumatized, refusing to give her name, claiming to be Anastasia. The woman pulled from the Berlin Canal was eventually given the name Anna Anderson because she still refused for a long time to give her real name. As she recovered in the hospital, nurses and doctors began to notice things about her that were unusual. She was clearly educated. She spoke several languages. She knew detailed, specific things about the Romanov family, things that an ordinary person would not know, things that were not in newspapers, things about private family habits, about specific rooms in the royal palaces, about personal nicknames the family members used for each other. Word spread. Eventually, some people who had actually known the Romanov family, distant relatives, former servants, courtiers, came to see her. Their reactions was completely divided. Some people who visited Anna Anderson was completely convinced she was Anastasia. A former nursemaid of the Romanov children broke down in tears upon seeing her and said there was no question in her mind. A cousin of the Tsar who had known Anastasia personally was also convinced. Others were equally certain she was not. The Tsar's surviving sister, Grand Duchess Olga, visited Anna Anderson and came away saying she was not Anastasia. Several other relatives said the same. Anna Anderson herself was not easy to spend time with. She was difficult, angry, and unpredictable. Sometimes she would talk in detail about life in the Russian royal court. Other times, she would refuse to answer any questions at all or fly into a rage if she felt she was being tested or doubted. She said she did not remember everything, that the trauma of surviving the massacre had damaged her memory. She said she had been rescued by a soldier named Alexander Tchaikovsky, hidden in Romania, and eventually made her way to Berlin. It was impossible to prove and it was impossible to disprove, and so the debate raged for decades. Over the years, supporters of Anna Anderson pointed to a long list of specific details that seemed to support her claim. Her physical appearance matched photographs of Anastasia closely. She had the same unusually shaped ears, a very specific physical feature that experts said was distinctive. She had a foot deformity, a bunion, in the same location that court records showed Anastasia had suffered from. She had scars on her body consistent with bullet wounds or bayonet injuries. She spoke Russian, German, and English, all languages Anastasia knew. She understood French. She remembered specific private details about life inside the Russian palaces that very few outsiders would ever have known, the color of specific rooms, the name of family pets, private jokes between siblings, the layout of private apartments. At one point, she spoke to a German prince who had been a close friend of the Romanov family. She reminded him of a specific private conversation they had shared, a conversation that no one else should have known about. The prince was visibly shaken. He later said he believed she was genuine. She also recognized specific people, former servants, relatives, before they introduced themselves to her. This was tested more than once and she passed each time. Doctors who examined her noted that she appeared to have suffered genuine, severe trauma. Whatever had happened to her, something terrible had clearly occurred, but her opponents had their own list of evidence and it was also compelling. While Anna Anderson had convinced many people, There were serious reasons to doubt her too. She could not speak Russian fluently, which seemed strange for someone claiming to be a Russian princess. She claimed the trauma had caused her to forget much of it, but skeptics found this hard to accept. Her knowledge of palace life, some argued, could have been obtained from the many books, articles, and interviews about the Romanov family that had been published after their deaths. She had been in hospital and institutions for years. She had access to reading material. A clever, determined person could have studied and memorized those details. Her account of how she escaped the basement changed in small but important ways over the years. The story of the soldier Tchaikovsky who rescued her could never be verified. No records of him were ever found. Several handwriting experts compared her handwriting to Anastasia's known letters and found significant differences. Language experts noted inconsistencies in how she spoke about her supposed childhood. Anna Anderson spent years, decades, fighting in German courts to have her identity legally recognized as Anastasia Romanov, which would have entitled her to a share of Romanov family fortune held in European banks. The legal case dragged on for over 30 years and was never conclusively resolved in her favor. The German courts ultimately ruled that her claim could never be proven, now that it was a false, simply that it could not proven. She was neither confirmed nor rejected. She was left in a permanent, exhausting uncertainty. Anna Anderson spent most of her life moving between hospitals, institutions, and the homes of wealthy supporters who believed her story and took her in. She was not easy to help. She was fiercely proud, deeply suspicious of people's motives, and prone to intense emotional outbursts. Many supporters eventually gave up and moved on, worn down by the difficulty of being around her. In 1968, an American professor named John Manahan met her and eventually married her. She moved to Charlottesville in the state of Virginia in the United States, where she lived for the rest of her life. Even in her old age, Anna Anderson never stopped insisting she was Anastasia. She never wavered. She never confessed to being anyone else, even when it would have been so much easier, so much more peaceful to simply let go of the claim and live quietly. She died in February 1984 at the age of approximately 82. The question she had refused to answer for 64 years, who are you really? Still had no definitive answer when she died, but science was about to change that. In 1991, when the main Romanov grave was opened in Russia and the bones were examined, scientists had a new tool that had not existed during most of the Anna Anderson's lifetime: DNA testing. DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, is the genetic code inside every cell of your body. It is unique to you, inherited from your parents. It does not lie and it does not forget. Scientists took DNA from the bones found in Romanov grave and compared them to living relatives of the Romanov family. The results confirmed that the bones belonged to Nicholas, Alexandra, and three of their daughters. But two people were missing from that grave, a boy and a girl. Most likely Alexei and one of the sisters, but which sister? Now attention turned to Anna Anderson. She had died 10 years earlier, but she had left something behind. During a medical procedure in an American hospital years before her death, doctors had kept a small tissue sample from Anna Anderson's body. It was standard hospital practice at the time. The sample had been stored in a medical archive and never discarded. In 1994, scientists obtained this tissue sample. They extracted DNA from it and they compared it to DNA from the Romanov family. The results came back clearly. Anna Anderson was not Anastasia Romanov. Her DNA matched a completely different family, a Polish family with the last name Shanskowska. Further research identified her most likely as Franziska Shanskowska, a factory worker from Poland who had gone missing around the same time Anna Anderson had appeared in Berlin. Franziska had reportedly suffered a serious accident at the factory where she worked, an explosion that left her with physical scars and reportedly caused significant trauma. That trauma, some researchers now believe, may have led her to genuinely construct and believe an alternative identity for herself. The mystery of Anna Anderson was solved. She was not Anastasia, but the bigger mystery, what happened to real Anastasia, was still not fully answered. Remember, when the main Romanov grave was found in 1991, two people were still missing, Alexei and one of the daughters. For years, the exact identity of the missing daughter was debated. Some scientists who studied the grave said the missing girl was Maria. Others said the bone measurements suggested it was Anastasia. The uncertainty meant that technically, just technically, the question of whether Anastasia's body had been found was still not fully closed. Then in 2007, a Russian archaeologist named Alexander Avdonin, the same man who had secretly found the main grave decades earlier, returned to the forest area with new search technology. In a small area of the forest, approximately 70 meters from the main burial pit, they found it. A second burial site, smaller, shallower. Inside were charred bone fragments. The killers had clearly tried to burn these remains more thoroughly than the others. They had used fire and acid. The fragments were badly damaged. But DNA testing was now far more advanced than it had been in 1994. Scientists were able to extract enough genetic material from the fragments to run a thorough analysis. The results, announced officially in 2008, confirmed the following. The bone fragments belonged to a boy aged approximately 13 years old, consistent with Alexei, and a young woman aged approximately 18 to 23 years old, consistent with Anastasia. After 89 years, all 11 people from the basement of the Ipatiev house had been found and identified. The real Anastasia had not escaped. She had not survived. She had been there in that basement like the rest of her family. She was buried in a forest in the Ural Mountains, and she stayed there for nearly a century before the world found her. So, if Anastasia did not survive, why did the world believe for so long that she might have? There are several reasons. First, the Soviet government lied about what happened for decades. By hiding the truth, they created a vacuum, and rumors and stories filled that vacuum immediately. Second, the bodies were not all found for 89 years. As long as anybody was missing, any story was possible. Third, Anna Anderson was extraordinary. She was intelligent, specific, and convincing enough to keep serious, educated people genuinely uncertain for over 50 years. That is remarkable, whoever she actually was. Fourth, and perhaps most importantly, people wanted it to be true. The Romanov story is so tragic, so brutal, so final that the idea of one young girl escaping, the youngest, the funniest, the most spirited one, felt like justice, felt like hope. The human heart wants survivors. It wants one person to make it out. Even after the DNA results were announced in 2008, some people still refuse to fully accept them. The mystery had become part of cultural identity for so many people that the truth felt like a loss rather than an answer. Hollywood understood this. In the 1997 animated film Anastasia, while completely fictional, captured exactly why the story resonated so deeply. The idea that the little girl got away, that love and courage were enough, that not every royal family story ends in basement. The real story is sadder, but it is also, in its own way, extraordinary. Anastasia Romanov was 17 years old when she died. She spent her last year alive under armed guard in shrinking rooms with fewer and fewer comforts, watching her country change into something that had no place for her family. And yet, by every account of people who saw her during that time, she kept laughing, she kept drawing funny pictures, she kept making the people around her smile. She was not a cartoon princess, she was not a magical survivor. She was a real teenager born into an impossible situation who handled it with more grace and humor than most adults could manage. The woman who claimed to be her, Anna Anderson, really Franziska Shanskowska, may have been mentally unwell. She may have been a deliberate fraud. She may have genuinely believed her own story after years of trauma. We will probably never know which is true. What we do know is this: Anastasia Romanov existed. She was real. She was funny and brave and kind. She deserved a longer life. And now, finally, after 89 years in a forest in the Ural Mountains, she has been found, identified, and given the dignity of a proper burial. Her story is not a fairy tale, but it is one of the most human stories history has ever told. If Anastasia's story stayed with you, please hit subscribe, because every single day, past portraits bring you true stories from history just like this one. Real people, real mysteries, real emotions. Drop a comment below and tell me, do you think Anna Anderson genuinely believed she was Anastasia, or was it all a deliberate lie? I want to know what you think, and let me know which historical story you want past portraits to cover next. I will see you tomorrow.